Welcome. Monday's Bits and Bobs is coming at you. So elsewhere in your feed today will be the hurling, and over the next half hour, 35 minutes or so, we'll try and breeze through everything else happening. Will Slattery here in studio. Hello.
Hey Joe.
Fresh from the watch-along success that was Saturday.
Roaring success of the watch-along, yeah.
They set very realistic numbers for you to hit, and you smashed through them.
Yeah, it was a kind of a Conan Doherty YouTube kind of target we set, something that we maybe could jump over with ease and then look really, really successful afterwards.
Yeah. I watched more. I tuned in as support and stayed for the whole way through. That was great.
Yeah, I actually, when I saw you retweet it, I was like, I think this is sincere. I think we can stand over Joe's retweet. No, honestly, I'm not just obviously tooting my own horn. It was a huge effort. It was like, 5 guys behind the scenes as well going into it, and it seemed to get a lot of engagement. We had people like emailing or commenting from all over the world. It was brilliant.
Do you know what I liked about it? So like Rog and Big are obviously hugely appealing for obvious reasons. I like that rugby's a very complex game. And this running kind of commentary, I suppose, from Jackman in particular, of like specifics of, I shouldn't have went into that breakdown, or I find I learned so much more about certain individual choices, which a commentator, for obvious reasons, and co-commentator don't have time to get into.
Yeah, it's funny. I found that dynamic really enjoyable to do, like just literally reacting in real time, being like, scrum is coming. Bernard, which way are they going to go here? Predict it here.
He went, they'll go left, and then go. Yeah. So that there was one great moment where they dummied to go left and then went back, and you kind of think to yourself, what's the point of that? And he said, look there on your screen, you can see Hugo Keenan had to come across and then he had to sprint all the way back, but he did, and he's really good at that, and therefore he got the kick. And you're like,
yeah,
Miles Harrison can't get into all that. I think we're getting to a point where I will choose watch-alongs over commentary whenever they're available, with good people doing the watch-along. Commentary is not superfluous, but actually the we know who all the names, we know who they all are. Like we've high definition TV. The nitty gritty of like the intricacies being talked about in that way is great.
Or certainly being offered on Sky as like on a red button.
Yeah.
So having like 3 other pundits just doing it. Like what's it like for you and Virgin when the game's going on?
I sometimes have thought to myself,
just put the webcam on.
Talking about it is amazing. Yeah. They've time to spend 8 minutes on that one little thing, or chats lead elsewhere. But that's for another day. I've said that before, and Dave McIntyre was very angry with me. Conor McKeon, patiently. Hello.
Hi, Joe.
Fresh back from Portrush.
Fresh is the term, yeah.
We're going to touch on Portrush. We're going to touch a little bit on the lines. The hurling, don't need to overly, because Verney, Milan, Eddie Brennan incoming. And then interesting transfer news in the world of football as well. So, Portrush, good week, enjoy it?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's a long week. It's just, like a lot of people find it ultimately unfulfilling, I think, when there's a runaway winner.
Including the winner.
Yeah. No, but like fair play to him, he's great, but it's just, I suppose you just want a bit of drama. Maybe we'll never have Augusta 2025 ever again, and that's we'll have to sort of live with that.
Only been 3 months. I mean, give it a chance.
But I just don't ever, like, it's just that I went up the first hole as I did every day of the first of the fore with Rory. It's such, the inside the ropes access when you're working at a golf tournament is just incredible. It makes it such a really, like, it's a pretty privileged position to be in. You're literally following them through the ropes as they go onto the next tee box, and you can walk up and get good vantage points on all the tee shots. But I followed Rory up the first yesterday, and then I was just by the side of the green on the right-hand side as you're looking towards the first green. And obviously he was in the second last group and Scheffler was in the last. And Scheffler had put his ball into the rough, and I said, I'm just going to sit here now. I won't follow Rory for the time being and see what Scheffler does. And he stuck it to 12 inches. And that was at 2:45. And we sort of more or less knew that the tournament was done.
His 3 birdies in the first 5 holes fairly killed any hope that there would be nerves. On the access thing with golf, there is nothing like it. You should go to the Irish Open, Will, because you get inside the ropes. And that means you can stand as close as I am to you as Rory McIlroy hits a shot. I mean, it's insane. It's like being on standing beside Messi taking a penalty. But I always remember at the JP McManus Pro-Am, and I was following Tiger, obviously, even though, at that stage he's a shadow of himself physically in every other way. But somebody came up to me about 5 holes in and said, the television wants you to stop standing so close to him. You're in the shot. You're literally in the shot.
The boom mic is hitting you in the head as he takes his backswing.
Give the man some space. So like in privileges.
But it was kind of crazy to see all the people who were standing outside the ropes, fans who've been there all day. And we're all streaming past, and they're laughing, going, "Who are all these guys?"
Joe,
and they've watched 32 groups go through with one or two scorers and maybe a cameraman, and then Rory's group comes along, and there's an entourage of 50 people who are trying their best to kind of stay out of the way.
Where are you standing? So say if he's
by the ropes, you have to be close. You have to be within an arm's length of the ropes. But so long as you're not you're not intruding on the shot or too close to the green or whatever. You're okay. You have to kind of lean down. You have
with all the the lengthy, thick kind of grass. Are you the other side of the grass, and then there's the grass, and then Rory?
It depends on the hole. Depends on the hole. There were certain holes where you actually had to just wait till they went past and march down behind them.
Irish Open's your ticket. You go wherever you want.
I was say, so are you like barred from the Ryder Cup in their manner now for getting too close to the players?
Harry, move out of the way. I want to stand closer to Rory.
Well, my favourite one of those was remember the year we were at the Irish Open and we followed Billy Horschel.
Yeah.
And what's that hole in the K Club? The par 3.
14th, 13th.
Yeah.
That neck of the woods. Middle of the back nine.
Yeah. And I was standing so close that Billy Horschel's caddy thought that I was asking him a question. I said, I wonder what he hit there, because Horschel nearly held his tee shot. And his caddy just looked up at me and he said, just a sweet ass 8-iron, my man. I was like, I love this place. And ever since then, Billy Horschel and his caddy, they're my people.
Billy was so nice to everyone, away from camera. We both fell in love. We fell a little bit in love with Billy, you know what I mean? So some guy came up to him and said, best of luck. And Billy's like, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. And we kind of looked at each other and said, this guy's he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I've been with
Before I was an Irish Independent employee as well.
Anyway, Augusta, you can't go on the ropes.
No, it's the only one.
Okay.
Good. You get enough out of that. So Scheffler, this is, just to state the obvious, major number 4. The comparisons now are being made with Tiger increasingly. So spooky. To win his 4 majors, from first to fourth, has taken Scottie Scheffler 1,197 days. Tiger, from his first to his fourth, took 1,197 days. But that is not where the comparisons end. Like, there's any number of things you could point to. Justin Ray had the stat that since the Masters started in the 30s, that players who have won multiple majors in the same year by 4 shots or more, so multiple majors, same year, both by 4 shots or more. You were talking Ben Hogan 1953, Tiger Woods 2000, and now Scheffler 2025. Now, if you're a golf fan, Hogan 53 and Woods 2000s are kind of shorthand for inflection points in the greatness of golf, like 2 of the greats. So I don't know if they were sitting around in 53 going, it just doesn't really capture the imagination, but that is one of the questions obviously around.
There was one moment yesterday when we were watching it, and I think Scheffler went 8 clear, and there was a moment he was about the 12th hole. It was before, he made double on 12, didn't he? So it was about the 11th hole, and we were all sitting around, and the stat came up that's how much Tiger won the 2000 US Open by at Pebble Beach. And that is unanimously accepted as the greatest major performance in the history of golf. And that's what Scottie was getting at.
Yeah. And you almost need those stats.
Yeah, you need
to try and
reference points.
Almost wake you up to what you're watching, because it doesn't reach out and grab you by the throat the way Tiger did.
Well, you haven't mentioned Jack Nicklaus. Like, it took Jack Nicklaus 4 years to win 17 PGA tournaments and 4 majors. That's what Scottie has exactly now, and he's not even finished this year.
Look, Jack, that long.
His first 4 years. So Scottie had 2 years before winning his first tournament. So it was, but like, since Scottie won his first tournament, it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
And Jack 4 years for 17 tournaments, 4 majors.
Oh.
And Scottie's 30th birthday is on
US Open
Sunday of Shinnecock Hills at the US Open next year, when
the career Grand Slam looms large. 18 players have won 3 of the 4. Obviously, Rory is one of the 6 to have done it. It will, a few people have said this, sort of water down Rory's achievement if Scottie just breezes in next year and does it, Can
I throw in one more Scottie stat to you?
Yeah, last Scottie stat. Because after a while, they're just numbers.
No, okay. So in the last 50 years, only 3 players have won 17 PGA Tour tournaments in a 4-year span. Tiger has won, Scottie's the other. Do you know who the third person is?
17 PGA Tour events in 4 years.
Yeah.
Since when?
In the last 50 years.
50.
4 years, 17. Not Rory.
Not Rory.
Not Vijay Singh.
It's Vijay Singh, yeah.
Thank you.
He had this unbelievable.
I said Vijay Singh. Edit out the knot, or you all right? You take out the knot there, please.
Vijay Singh ripped off 19 PGA Tour wins between 2002 and 2004.
He's a forgotten man.
Vijay Singh and
only one major in that time span, which maybe people don't remember quite as
correct.
But Vijay Singh and Ernie Els are two of these golfers who, like, are Hall of Famers, but would have become all-time greats. But for the fact that as they were hitting their peak or just going past it, Tiger Woods came along.
Ernie is on, what, 3 or 4 majors? 4?
4 majors.
Yeah, he'd have 8. Vijay Singh should have 4.
And they also spent a lot of time on the European Tour as well, so their PGA Tour totals would be far greater if they had, say, devoted their careers.
The big thing about Scottie, though, and you mentioned this earlier on, and it was absolutely correct, because from Saturday night, all the questions to the big golfers as they came off the course were about Scottie. Like, everybody is.
Yeah.
They are now reverential towards him. It is the first time that this has happened. Before that, people were asking questions saying, well, Scottie's playing great, but obviously if I produce my best stuff, and now the best golfers in the world, or should we call them the bunch of losers ranked number 2 down to whatever, they're basically sort of theorising like the rest of us as to why this guy is, in fact, the absolute best golfer in the world. And let there be no question about it.
Yeah, that jumped into me massively. That was the thing I said to you. That was the interesting aspect of the tournament for me in some respects. Is usually when the players are all getting out of Dodge, the tournament is still very much alive. Like the USPGA at the turn, John Ram was on his heels. So any player who's been interviewed as they depart, they're like, oh yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how the tournament plays out. But obviously from Saturday, really, and maybe even Friday, Scottie was the winner. So all the interviews Saturday and Sunday are about Scottie. And I had thought the players, the ones who are aspiring to win more majors, like, wouldn't be too giving. There's a degree of, like, you say it out loud and you're giving your opponent an advantage when you might be in a mano-a-mano version or a mano-a-mano situation with him in 6 months' time. So Rory was never overly complimentary about Brooks Koepka when that rivalry was kind of fizzing. I think there was maybe a dislike of each other at the time as well. A few loose comments from Koepka had reached the McIlroy camp, but he never was like, oh, Koepka, wow, setting the bar. So McIlroy, Scottie is the bar, and we're all trying to get to it at this point. None of us could live with what he had this week. That's not, he's a good player. Bryson DeChambeau, that's not the guy I was in college with. I've got to improve a lot. It's Bryson DeChambeau. Xander, it's Tiger-like. Harris English, there's no stat he's bad in. It's like, how do you beat this guy? And then on the Saturday night, Billy Foster, who has seen it all, done it all as a caddy to everybody from, Seve, Lee Westwood for a long time. He was on BBC Saturday night. He's not an easily impressed man. Had this to say about Scottie and what he was doing and his chances for the Sunday.
He's on a different level at the minute. I mean, we played with him the first 2 rounds, and Shane Lowry said to me on the 17th green, this guy just wants to birdie every hole. He's the best player I've witnessed. I've caddied for 40 odd years, and he's unbelievable. His distance control's better than any man I've ever come across. It's like it's a 10 or 15 foot every hole. He gives himself a birdie every hole, and he's not getting beat tomorrow. Simple as.
The last part speaks to what you see just as a viewer, is that every hole, middle of the green or better, it's just that consistency. The shot he hit in the first hole yesterday, in the rough to like 2 or 3 feet, you don't see it that often from him. Like that was like Rory at Augusta, like every shot, like, he was getting himself out of all sorts of crazy positions. Scheffler's just like middle of the fairway or maybe a little to the right or the left, puts it on the green. And if you keep doing that again and again and again and again, you will get enough birdie opportunities to rack up really low totals. It's not as eye-catching as Rory when Rory's really fizzing at like he was at Augusta at various points. But there's this kind of metronomic kind of just repetition about it that's just it's very mesmeric in its own way.
And it's not what golf should be. Golf's too hard to be able to do that.
The point of golf is that, like, it's played on these kind of strange terrains that have lots of weird lies, and your job is to do the best thing out of the hardship that you find yourself in 8 times around. And he doesn't have the hardship. He's playing perfect golf. That's why people are so, I won't say ambivalent towards it, because it's very impressive and it's very admirable. But it's why it felt underwhelming yesterday, because it's like guys running an obstacle course and he has the obstacles taken out of it because he's just so good, and it's so impressive. But I think, like, Brandel Champley was on this podcast before Augusta, and I think he made the point that Scottie was the best golfer of all time who was only an average putter. Like, the rest of the great golfers, Tiger, Nicklaus, they're all great putters.
Yeah.
But his stats for putting this season are off the charts. He was second in strokes gained on the greens this year. And if he puts like that from now on and the rest of his game doesn't fall apart, he's going to be literally unbeatable.
Yeah, it was the first time, well, it really hit me. The putting's a weapon. It's not just not a liability anymore. It's not just okay. It's now a weapon.
The couple of par puts that he got yesterday when he was...
6th and 7th.
Yeah, when he was under pressure, 12 foot, 14 foot or whatever.
15 and 16.
Was it 15 and 16?
No.
And I had gone back into the press tent at that stage. The golf tournaments are good that way. You can kind of watch a bit, go back in, ride a bit, and then top it off at the end. And we went back in, and there was these kind of just big kind of laughs. You were teeing yourself up for a bit of drama. Oh, here we go. He's under a bit of pressure here, and then he drains those putts, and it's incredible, really.
And not to reduce it back to stats and numbers, but it's kind of remarkable when you look. I know he's only won 17 PGA Tour tournaments, but he's still very early in his career. Like, if you look at the all-time list, the first 30 names, bar Phil and Rory and Dustin Johnson as 25, are all really, really old players. So as good as we've seen from great golfers over the last 20 years, they actually didn't rack up major. I think you need to hit 20 to get an exemption. Very few kind of modern players that I would have watched and you guys would have watched in their prime actually are on that list. And Scheffler looks like he's going to breeze through it and rack up a huge total, more similar to what an Arnold Palmer would have gotten, or a Tom Watson when it's 50 plus PGA Tour wins potentially.
Yeah, it's true. I think
Speed gave the best press conference of them all when he was asked about Scheffler, and he said, he's not like the rest of us. He's not as drawn into the off the course stuff. He does very few endorsement deals. He wasn't on TGL. He seems to be very, very happy with his life, and his life is family, religion, or whatever sort of his spirituality is. And he called himself a sicko, and golfers who call themselves sickos means that they're the people who go out when it's lashing rain and wind, and he'll hit more and more and more balls. So he seems to have the pillars of his life seem to be very, very sturdy, and then he has a serious, I don't know if it's an addiction, but a love for the nitty gritty of what makes you better. And when you put that all together, it's almost like he's serene on the golf course. Yeah. That's what I'd say. You look at Rory and Rory at the Masters, and he's the only real comparison you have for Scheffler in the modern game in terms of ability. But you look at Rory at the Masters, and the reason that was so entertaining was because there's a desperation there in him to win it, and the desperation nearly causes him not to win it. But Scheffler never looks desperate.
No, he doesn't. There's no showmanship to him. So, and this is a problem. If I'm to give Scotty notes, it's you just need to just put on a bit more of a show. A little club twirl.
Is that what you mean by that?
I'm sort of joking. He shouldn't do this. But the reason he's not compelling is he's so unexpressive. And also, your good shots aren't being noticed. It's really interesting when you say, and you're right, in the main you're right, but he only hits middle of the green. And it is kind of like that. But if you take Saturday on 17, he went way left and into this really thick, heavy fescue up on a mount, okay? Now, a little bit of showmanship here, Scott. You walk over, you shake your head, you're like, Jesus. You walk back, and then when you're getting up to the shot, where you're kind of bending your knees and you're almost falling off the hill, you do a little stumble and bend the knees and say, I can't stand, and then you hack it out and run down the hill Jordan Spieth style as if you've lost your balance and the ball nestles in. That's the little sprinkle of something I want. I swear to God, he walked over, he hunkered down once, he had one look, a two look, and the ball, and no one noticed. It was Seve and because he just did it in that, just slumped over, zero presence about him, just did it. No big afterwards. No one kind of noticed it. And Paul McGinley did a great analysis piece on the 6th hole on the Saturday, which is par 3. Do you remember that time we played the wind? I had a driver in the par 3.
That's right.
Yeah. So the pin was tucked far right on the Saturday. And basically there's a big fat part of the green, which is 25 yards wide. And then where the pin was tucked was 10 yards wide, right? And so McGinley showed 5, 6, 7 of the best players hitting their shots. And all of them deliberately went fat part of the green. Grant. Scotty, for the guy who never, and I agree with you, doesn't go for the pin, Scotty hit his ball, and for all those people saying, the conditions suited him, he hit his ball so much lower than everyone else. So he flighted it in, and he stuck it to 10 feet, and McGinley said it was an outrageously risky shot, and made the putt. It was the best shot all day, 70-odd players going through. But he just did it, give me a club twirl. Give me just something to make me remember it, because it was just instantly, he's done it again. So I think all of those reasons mean he's doing these miraculous things in the most, probably deliberately, low-key, unexpressive way imaginable. So it doesn't like register with your emotions, and therefore you're not getting the credit.
He has complete inner focus though as well. Our colleague Brian Keogh asked Scottie on Saturday night, was he aware of because the noise for Rory on Saturday when he's putting a run together around Portrush was
amazing,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was, and like from everywhere on the course. I know people who were out in the hospitality tent and saw his eagle put 30 seconds after it went in, and they knew it had gone in, it had ruined it. So Brian asked Scheffler, oh yeah, by the way, did you pick up on the noise from the Rory thing? And like Scheffler looked at Brian like, it was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was playing my round of golf here. He was completely and utterly in the zone, and he seems to be always completely and utterly in the zone. And that press conference he gave on Monday that everybody found so interesting about, you know, that this is not a fulfilling life. You know, I think the point of what he was trying to say was that this isn't the only thing in life, and this isn't the most important thing in life, and that he was nearly sort of not embarrassed, but he was just aware that he had devoted so much of his time to try and be this good. And the fact that he has that level of perspective on it just makes him so dangerous, because it's almost like he has this ironclad kind of will that you're never going to spook him. He's not going to be nervous. All of these things that, again, are an intrinsic part of golf. These are the parts of golf.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that goes on in your head. The stuff that goes on in his head is completely beneficial at all times. It never holds him back, and it never distracts him.
It's funny that you mentioned the press conference on the Monday when he mentions, you know, it lasts 5 minutes, you move on to the next thing. Like, Joe, the video you shared earlier about the behind the scenes clip of his kind of post round, that spoke to that exactly. Like, he has a hug with his family, 1 or 2 high fives, goes in and has 1 pint of Guinness, takes a few pictures, and then he just gets into the courtesy car, and there's no one around. It's like, compare and contrast that with Rory when it was this cinematic moment of 1 million people high-fiving him. There's thronged of people, and that's in America. Like, Rory in America ostensibly shouldn't be that different from Scheffler winning in England, you know, the Northern Ireland ostensibly. I know obviously Rory's a major star, but it really spoke to how fleeting it almost feels, because it was almost like, okay, that's the Open done now, back to the hotel, fly back to America. Where are we playing next weekend?
Yeah.
It did kind of sum up that kind of, I suppose, view he espoused during the week.
You can see why Rory had the big low after that high. Like, there's going to be no low for Scottie because he didn't get that high. On the and one last thing on him, it was quite interesting in his press conference yesterday. He definitely felt a little bit shortchanged by the way his very, very, revealing comments earlier in the week had, in his eyes, been butchered by into clickbait. Like he said, he sort of said, I talked for 5-6 minutes. And honestly, a lot of you have just boiled it down to, oh, Scottie doesn't care. Sure, we're all dead anyway. What's the point in anything? It's like, that's not what I was saying. And I think he's right about that. Like, even on the Sky commentary at times, there were a few quips. Radar, who I love, by the way, Radar's amazing. But like at one stage, at the turn when Scottie's clearly winning the tournament, he sort of goes, it's a pity he doesn't care about this, and that's not what he meant. And like, he was saying, he can't understand why he cares so much. That was like, that's what is like, I'm wrestling with the fact that I want to win the Open so much, and yet it's only going to be euphoric for 2 minutes and then life goes back to normal. Why do I want to win? So that was like, that's the big part which has been left out of his thing, is I want this so much, and yet I already know it's fleeting and hollow, etc. So, but that's been sort of lost. It's now been turned into, he's a kind of nihilist who, well, what's the point in anything? Which is not what he was saying.
No, but he's become more fascinating over the last
years.
Because at least we've gotten to the point where he's been around so long with this demeanour that we've sort of scratched past the surface. But the question of whether there's any kind of like darkness there, or there's any skeletons in the closet, or it just doesn't look to be that way.
Give it time. Do
you reckon?
Look, no one's straightforward. I am now at the point where he's now into making history territory, and it's going to get really interesting. We win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That will become.
I felt that
iconic.
way a bit about
Kepka
as well.
Do that.
No,
we really haven't. And even when Brooks was winning all those majors, that was the thing. He only went to the majors. He won one PGA Tour event outside of a major around that spell, or maybe 2 max. So I agree. I actually do find it interesting to see if he can rack up. Sorry to jump in there.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I found the Koepka thing really interesting. It was like, what is it about this guy that can just get his act together for this? It comes down to motivation as well, like if he's that addicted to the nitty gritty of showing up every morning and hitting a million balls, well then he's inevitably going to produce it as tournaments, because the tournaments itself don't seem to take a lot out of him emotionally.
No.
That's the thing. You can't imagine the dread that he had. I don't know whether Rory was dreading going to the tournaments post Augusta, but he certainly found him a drag once he was there. And I don't see Scheffler suffering that same affliction.
I guess we're just into events here, boy. Like Tiger to not win, his last 108 on one leg, the US Open, to then not win another major to 19. And look, Tiger had a lot going on. That is inconceivable. Like, that's the most... I actually can't believe that. And for Rory to go from 14 to 2025 and not win one, it's unbelievable. So, like, in 2014 Rory and in 08 Tiger, if you'd said it's going to be 11 years, inconceivable. Every bit as inconceivable as Scottie not winning another one for 11 years feels now. So let's just see, life happens.
Yeah, I mean, there were a fair bit of comments about Scheffler earlier this year that he was getting a bit ratty on the golf course.
Yeah.
And the reason was that he usually isn't. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was coming back from that injury that he
frustrated.
He was frustrated that there were events outside his control that were stopping him from being as good as he could.
And he knew Augusta was coming. He knew I'm not going to be ready for Augusta. He knew it.
Jim Gavin used to have this thing that he spoke about, like this kind of...
I think him and Scottie had...
No, but he used to talk about... He had this way of looking at things, and he spoke about it openly, that he said... he used this kind of metaphor of the 3 glass balls that you have. And one of them is your sporting life.
Yeah.
One of them is your professional or educational life. One of them is your family life. And if any of those, if you let any of them drop at any stage, the rest will suffer. So that's why they would have always been very big on that team that fellas,
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all this stuff.
Yeah, all that.
I wasn't being glib when I said I think Jim and Scottie.
Yeah.
I think...
I just found it funny. Sorry, I wasn't...
Yeah. I think Jim would be like, he's completely right.
Yeah, but my point about this is that when Tiger's personal life started to become an issue, he didn't win again for a long, long time.
Yeah, there's a spiritual component to golf, especially, I think, all that thing.
You have to have your shit together.
Yeah, I think so.
And have you ever seen a man with his shit together more than Scottie Scheffler?
No.
So if he doesn't win a major for another 11 years, it will be fascinating to watch as well.
Do you know who had his shit together? Jack Nicklaus. He was notorious for his family life and taking time off the golf course. And I mentioned earlier, they're on like very similar trajectories to start their career. I don't know if he's going to win, 78 PGA Tour events and 18 majors, but...
I really do think more than a lot of sports, having your shit together in your life, and golf is very important. I think there is... because golf is a game of like bad breaks and losing and making mistakes. And if you're not happy with yourself... You have to withstand all that negativity. And if you're already in a bad place and then you get those bad breaks, I think you're not able to almost deflect against them. It compounds and you have just so much thinking time.
The only thing that I could say, and like we're trying to make a case against Scottie here because it's so hard to make, but I do remember watching Jordan Spieth on his way to his 3rd major and listening to commentary, and they were talking about, well, could he win another 10? That's only one major a year for the next 10 years. And they're talking about it in such a way that we're almost lowballing here. And somebody like Spieth, when it went wrong for him, it went so badly wrong, he's struggled to get it back. And he's not, he was not unlike Scottie insofar as he's one of these...
Unorthodox.
Well, no, but I just mean even from a personality point of view.
Settled as a person.
He was settled as a person, and I think he was married pretty young, and he had a strong family unit around him, and he was pretty comfortable, and he has struggled to get it back. So it does happen.
I'd make the arguments against him.
Against Scheffler?
Yeah, just history tells us. So something's going to go wrong.
He's already done it longer.
Yeah, I know.
Very, very top players ever.
I just think something goes wrong. Someone else comes along. Doesn't take when it goes, it goes. Let's push on. We already kind of overdid that a touch. For instance, there were lots of emails in like this. I'll just read it. We don't have to debate it overly. I should have got to it earlier. From Helen. Helen said, just me, or did Scottie's revelation that golf isn't fulfilling cast a bit of a shadow over the Open? Once he got in front, it was an inevitable march, but knowing it barely moves the needle for him emotionally made it very hard to stay invested. Turns out that watching a sports person feel something like joy, heartbreak, grit is a huge part of why I tune in. I can admire Scottie's skill and temperament, but it's not what makes sport magical for me. I found more joy in Westwood's recovery from a nightmare front nine or Rory's valiant attempt to give the home crowd a flutter of hope. Those moments had heart. Scottie's cruising to victory for his 5 minutes of satisfaction did not fulfill me, just as it did not fulfill him. Tiger had plenty of dominant wins, but there was always a fire, a drama, a sense of purpose that made it compelling. That's what I miss with Scottie. What are your thoughts about how an athlete's emotion shapes our experience as fans? Helen, it's very interesting. I think a lot of people sort of agree with you. Lions. No, Connor, stay. Connor, come back. Connor.
He sent me a photo from the Portrush media tent with everyone glued to the first test of the line.
Sorry, hang on. When you say everyone, there's about 6 people.
Oh, there's 12. There's easily 12.
Yeah, 12 out of what? 600.
Well, most of them are Americans, but they're non-Americans.
Lions 29, Australia 17.
Take that.
27-19.
Oh, well, that changes everything. 27-19.
Did they get a losing bonus point?
Oh, this was everything I feared. And maybe even a bit worse.
Yeah, we turned to each other after about 25 minutes in the watchalong and said, even in the worst case scenario, we didn't think it would be this dominant in the first half. And obviously the game went a certain way by the end that you could maybe dress it up. And we already are kind of skeletons back for test 2. But if you just take the game on its merits, first 45 minutes, 24-5, the Lions having left 2 or 3 really easy chances on the board, that could have been a 35-point hammering if the Lions had really been clued in and switched on. Like, from 1 to 8, the Lions were so thoroughly dominant, both on paper and in how it played out, that, yeah, it was everything we thought it could be in a bad sense. And even we thought, oh, Joe Schmidt will have the guys trained up. The amount of mistakes Australia made in the early doors, like, Harry Potter fumbling the ball out, into touch in the 22.
What?
Yeah, there's a guy called Harry Potter playing on the wing for Australia.
It's magic.
He's actually called Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And he was born...
What age is he?
He was born in 1997.
Ooh.
I think that's too late. I think his parents should have known better.
97, it wasn't big.
It was 96 was the book.
His name was actually Harry Potter.
Yeah, I feel
so
like,
unlucky.
I feel like
imagine his whole life.
Harry Potter.
And he's English as well, by the way. Sorry, he only went to Australia 2 years ago. He was born and raised in England, where the book would have been very well known.
I don't remember it in 97 being big.
Okay, because it's before I got to it, obviously.
And also, I don't think it was the phenomenon, therefore, if you weren't... Maybe if you were a parent with kids already. Does he have an older brother or sister?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Irrelevant Lion Store.
I think you've
That's
just...
the novel.
I think they were just chronically unlucky.
But we were even saying the fact that he came from Leicester, where he was playing and not playing for England, and is now starting for the Wallabies, after a year in Australia or 2 years in Australia for the Western Force, shows the lack of depth across the board. I can't remember the original question, but
It's everything. It's everything we feared.
Yeah, it was. Like, as we said, has there ever been kind of a series or a big match where so much of the focus was on Joe Schmidt and the coach? Like, it wasn't really the players. It was kind of hoping that Joe Schmidt could have gotten the players coached up to a degree that they could spoil the Lions and make it a competition. And while the end result might indicate that, I think everyone who watched the game will know that it really wasn't. It's funny because we were probably almost a little, we thought maybe too negative in our post-match chat. Rudd dialed in from Australia and he was like, guys, the Lions won. Like, because myself, Bernard Jackman and Keane Tracy were kind of asking him questions as if they'd been beaten, because there was the way the game went. Lions were so dominant and then were so scrappy that it was kind of hard to wrap your arms around the game and kind of... Why are you smiling?
I think the guy's name was Harry Potter.
I think what was so damaging was that the last 20 minutes didn't count.
Yeah.
And the Lions, like... Because even, the way at half-time, Cork Tipperary, 6 points, but Tipper in the game... Australia, like, they were so lucky to be 17-5 down. Like, those 3 other tries, which were so scoreable, like, it could have been 38-5.
And even their try off a box kick and a catch. Like,
it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's unlikely to happen again.
Yeah.
So, I've on that first half, and the lines were really good.
Yeah.
And, like, we'll do it later in the week. You don't want to take away from Tyke Byrne and what a great performance, for him, what an iconic moment for his life, player of the match, the turnover in 22 seconds, a great performance, and a lot of good performance. They were really good, the Lions. I mean, they would have, New Zealand or South Africa, they would have been really, it would have been an interesting game. I just thought, like, this is so bad. It just is like... Because I sort of said to Rudd last week, this is worst case scenario for me. And he's like, oh no, like a 60-0 thing would be worse. And I guess it would, but I don't know.
But I'm confused as to the whole thing here, because you're talking about the Lions winning comfortably, and you're saying that the preferable thing is for this to be more competitive.
Yeah.
But like, Are we not supposed to be behind the Lions here? Are you willing the entity of the series to work better?
I think I think there's always an existential thing with the Lions, so you need each series, if it doesn't go well, prompts like what's the future for the Lions thing. And also like it's the next 2 Saturdays. Like you sort of you want it to go to a third test. You're cheering the story, a bit like Scottie.
What happens when it's over then? Like
it's a bit like the Ryder Cup. You don't care the next day.
So I understand the Ryder Cup comparisons because I struggle at times with the idea of the Ryder Cup. But when it's on, it's utterly addictive because it's match play golf between people. And it doesn't matter whether the delineation is Europe or America. You could draw any, and it would still be fascinating.
And the parallels keep going. You were so thrilled for the local boys.
Yeah, that's what I'm
your
wondering.
Country, like doing it for the Lions. Like McGinley winning the Ryder Cup, you know what I mean? Like
there must be the draw must be in it because of the experimental nature of it as well, to find out who is preferred over. Yeah,
it's fantasy rugby.
Yeah,
Whereas I don't know. Like Brian Moore's writing about.
Did you see the guys with the poster, the Lionster?
Yeah, that didn't help. The Brian Moore's saying like this, God, Australia in 12 years now is under doubt. But obviously 12 years, it's impossible. Australian rugby could have a big revival in 12 years' time. It's hard to know.
Has it lacked a bit of juice as well? Like my very fleeting interest in the Lions tours over the years, there's always been somebody got banjoed, playing a match.
There's also been Razzie, absolutely phenomenal kind of off the pitch shitstir. 4 years before that, the Gatland thing in New Zealand, and he's dubbed up as a clown on the front page of the papers there, and so it's juicy.
4 years before that, it was O'Driscoll. Like, there's a funny kind of lots of things happening at the same time. Like, the Lions have only won one of the last 6 tours, so like,
have they?
It's funny that like
in Australia.
No, generally.
Yeah, but I mean, they won in Australia.
Yes, sorry, they won the one in Australia.
This is the problem.
That's the only one they've won since '97 is that one in Australia. But so you have like it's kind of funny. Then you're watching the Saturday's game, and we probably went into our post-match review more like after Ireland beat Australia in November, where it was a win for Ireland, but we didn't come out saying, "Oh, they beaten Australia." We were like, "That was a mistake. This was a mistake." And then Rudder was like, "Hold on, though. The Lions have just won a test, and you guys are acting as if it's just like an Airstream performance," which I guess we were. So that was funny. We probably had our kind of regular Ireland hat on almost, rather than well. And then it's the question: well, how should we be treating it? Should we be saying they won the game, they were great for 45 minutes, this was a really good day for the Lions, or do you look at it in its totality and say Australia were really, really bad? The Lions could have won that game by 40 points. Not that they needed to. There's no bonus points. It's just a win, and they're halfway to winning the test series. So there was a lot of different things happening at the same time.
I'll give you my. I was lucky. I skulked out yesterday morning and was on the driving range for an hour, and a lot of people were coming and going. And this is how all of the conversations went. People, how you? What time were you out at? Blah, blah, blah. Jesus, Scheffler, huh? Look. And then, did you watch the Lions? Yeah, they were very good. They were, but yeah. That's it. It's just, it doesn't feel like a great achievement. It just feels like the 4 came together, picked the best of the best, and beat the 8th best team in the world. And Joe Schmidt couldn't magic them into something else.
Exactly. Like at one stage during the show, like we obviously had a lot of time to fill, so we were going off in different directions. I said to Bernard, like, realistically, like, if this finishes the way it looks, and if they do the same next week, are these guys going to be like Lions legends, like the guys of '97? And no, he was,
and that's really tough on them and Tyke Byrne and these performances.
See, that's why, like, I was going to say, are we going to say anything about the rugby? Because like Tyke Byrne was absolutely exceptional. Yeah. Like, the 2 big calls Andy Farrell made, maybe in the back row, Tom Curry was exceptional. Yeah. Even Tyke Byrne's quotes that were published yesterday evening, basically, that similar to Joe Schmidt before Chicago, Rob Kearney, Tyke Byrne said, for 24 hours I had Andy Farrell's words in my head. We need one from you today. So there was like, Dan Sheehan was exceptional. The whole pack were brilliant. Like Ellis Genge, Mario Toje, Finn Russell had his moment and was really, really good.
It's brilliant lines.
So I'm conscious of striking a balance, because I don't want to come on either as some rugby head who's just going to be like, oh, but like, let's talk about the rugby, because I don't actually, that's not what I think either. I just think there's a balance, and there's a lot of different conflicting things I'm thinking.
You're right. It's wrong to overlook the Lions' performance. And Ian Madigan said to us last week, like, with each passing year in rugby, cohesion is kind of the name of the game, and so it's more and more difficult than ever to bring 4 sides together into one versus Australia were together all the time. So it's a great achievement. And a bit like Scottie, why don't I feel something?
No, it's the Australia piece, because you mentioned, like, if they were playing Razzies South Africa right now, it would be fever pitch. It would, and it would feel massive, and it would be a huge achievement.
I think. Sorry, don't clip this or make this a headline or anything. I don't see Australian rugby recovering. I think South Africa, New Zealand. I know, and that goes against the whole Lions ethos and the history. But I think Australia are in the dock until they prove themselves again on the world stage and then go again, for sure. But like,
this is only the 4th standalone Australia tour ever.
Is it really?
They used to tack it on to the New Zealand tour. Until 1989, they didn't do standalone tours to Australia. Okay. They would go to New Zealand and they would play 2 tests. And maybe that's what they have to do now. Maybe
I think so.
I think after this, because after they've had 4 tours in Australia now, and like the Lions will have won 3 of them, potentially, presuming they win this one. And the one they lost in 01 was obviously a great tour, but they were, could have won that one too. So I think the time for them as a standalone touring destination could be done, to Brian Moore's point. And I don't think that's knee jerk. We have a lot of evidence over 12 years now.
This was signposted for 3 years.
Yeah, it was.
From somebody who kind of casually consumes it, I did find previous tours hard to miss. Do you know what I mean? Like they came out and smacked you in the face. It was hard not to tune in. There doesn't seem to be any great sort of interest, sort of suction.
I don't think
in.
Schmidt and Farrell respect each other too much to play silly games in the media.
I kind of admire the Lions thing, because like it's obviously on its merits. Like, if you deconstruct it, it's a kind of a relic of a bygone amateur days. You know, the idea that a load of people jump on a boat and go to New Zealand for 3 months, and the fact that it has sort of survived the professional era, which has had so many casualties in rugby, you know, mostly over here, the club game. Not only that they've managed to turn it into this, and because it has history. So, like, it's
100 years older than the World Cup.
I know. Like,
so, like, the notion it was built on has long since been changed.
The problem is that if it lacks competitive merit, I just don't know what it is. You know, because, like, I'm sure that there are international rugby players certain of it, that their Lions cap or their series or their test win or whatever for the Lions is up there with the great achievements that they've ever had. But I'd love to know what it will be for this group if the tour plays out as the way it looks it's going to.
Because even in 2013, when Australia weren't the strongest, they still won a test, and 2 years later got to the World Cup final.
Yeah.
So even there's been a massive sea change even since then, and as a lot of people have been pointing out, like, rugby union seems to just be going one way. Like, even on this series, they're kind of somewhat reliant on the star power of a rugby league player who are there paying an obscene amount of money that I don't even think is justifiable really with their finances, like Joseph Suaalii, and trying to build the team around him. I will be interested to see what kind of conversations are had after this tour, if the Lions go on. Because, look, it isn't over yet.
Sure.
Skelton is coming back. Yeah. There'll be 90,000 at the MCG on Saturday. But from what we saw on Saturday, I know the scoreline ended up finishing close, but that's why there's a lot of different conflicting things happening, I think.
Just before we wrap up, Paul Gascoigne, in the news, has been rushed to hospital, collapsed at his home. So I saw the Sun were reporting he was found in a semi-conscious state in his house by his friend Steve Foster, who is the former Brighton defender. And he gave a quote. He said he would like to thank everyone for the support he's received so far from many old friends who wish him well and want to see him back to his best. So I think the sense that he's able to thank everyone through Steve Foster for that support is a good sign. Because it's interesting. Like, last March, he was on the High Performance podcast, and he said he was, his words, sad drunk, living in the spare room of his agent, Katie Davies. But then earlier this year, he gave a very positive update. He was talking about how I feel better now than I have in years, and I hope I'm at the point that I can look back over everything I've gone through with a different, more positive perspective. So, obviously, you wish him well. I guess, there's always worries about Gaza. And staying on football, couple of quick things to mention. Shelbourne this morning, Draw and Neon have found out who they'll play if they beat Karabag. In the next round, they will face, I know I shouldn't call them Steaua Bucharest, but FSCB, Steaua Bucharest, or Schenkenja from Macedonia. So that's what lies in wait for Shells. We'll talk to Dan at some stage this week. And big news for Liverpool, who've passed the 250 million mark in transfers this summer. Hugo Ekitike, I think I've mispronounced that. Ekitike, 90 million euro. 23-year-old Frenchman, Eintracht Frankfurt, 15 goals and 31 starts, 6-year deal. Newcastle had been sniffing around him as well, but 90 million euro got the deal done. I haven't seen a huge amount of him. I just looked at his play there on YouTube. He's a very interesting player in that he's very, very tall, but he's a dribbler. Very long, skinny legs. So he kind of, oscillates between like Bambi on ice running with the ball to, geez, he's beaten 3 of them. So I look forward to watching over 90 minutes to see, like, because obviously in YouTube the dribbles tended to come off. So like it's unusual to see a very tall dribbler like that. Was out in the wing, was playing through the middle. 90 million euro, 23 years old. It's kind of tasteless to say it. I don't mean this to be in any way disrespectful. I did cross my mind. Did Jota's passing prompt them to go back into the transfer market or not? I don't know. Maybe they've been after this guy for a long time. But 90 million euro plus add-ons.
It's a real spending spree.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Mitchell and Webb thing. It's like, are we the baddies? It's like Liverpool have now become Man City. It's like they're splashing the cash, buying everyone.
Yeah. Marcus Rashford arrived in Catalonia last night, Sunday night, 27 years of age. So just keeps on failing upwards.
Can you explain this to me? Can you explain how he has ended up here? Because I was probably more positive than a few people on the show about what I thought. I thought he was playing well for Aston Villa, but like just playing well for Villa, and now he's ended up at a project that looks very exciting.
So 12-month loan deal. I think there was a period where he put in some very eye-catching performances like PSG away a couple of years ago, and I think PSG and Barcelona in particular fell for him. That's my honest read. I just think they registered with those clubs. PSG, every time Rashford, PSG are interested, and Barcelona as well for the last couple of years. I think they just liked the cut of his jib that night, and they just can't quite shake it. But they'll get to know him. That's been a bit harsh on him. But look, I think at Aston Villa, he went down in my estimation with Aston Villa because he played so well and his attitude was so good, because it showed actually when you were literally walking after those players in the United jersey, I had wondered, is there some injury that they don't want to talk about? Are there problems with? And then with Villa, it's like, I can't stop running. So like that, in a way, that undercut his professionalism. So I presume he'll be in a good mood in Catalonia for the year, and therefore will try. We'll see. You're looking at me as if you're...
No, I'm just so perplexed by it. And they're like, and we're willing to meet his entire wage demands as well. It's like, I know financial prudence isn't Barcelona's strong suit, but still, I'm just genuinely baffled.
No, it's a great move.
I thought there was going to be a mid-level European club for him, like maybe a Juventus. Like that kind of level of team. Like Barcelona almost won the Champions League this year. Like, they have Lamine Yamal. Even in those areas he plays in, they seem to be fairly well stocked. Yeah. So
they were after Nico Williams, weren't they? And he signed a longer contract at Athletic Bilbao. Yeah. So unless, we all get wind of transfers just as they're about to happen, but you'd imagine a lot of them are kind of a year, 2 years in the making.
Maybe they want a good senior pro to set an example for Lamine Yamal.
After his recent birthday party with the...
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah.
Lamines.
Yeah.
What was he up to?
Kind of Mike Tyndall 2011 World Cup.
Stop.
Yeah.
Was he?
It was his 18th birthday.
I don't want to say any more than that.
Oh, cheers, a badge, yeah. So can you, what's the gist?
Well, I also don't know any more than that.
All right,
I don't recall any more details, but that was a top night.
Okay. But I should Google it.
Yeah, I think so.
His 18th birthday, that shows how young he is, God.
That shows that he's 18.
Yeah. And then Evan Ferguson, who's only 20, he landed down in Rome last night as well, and there were about 100 fans greeting him. So again, someone else who's at a delicate point in his career. Claudio Ranieri led them to 5th last year. Gasparini's gone in now as manager, 3-year contract, and Dan was in last week and he just said, like, not that there's like a lack of faith in Ferguson at the moment, or but there's certainly an impatience or the beginnings of worry around. Right, where are you going here now? Are you going to, Damien Delaney was saying something similar to us in the show. You need to get fit. You need to get strong. You need to look on top of your game. You need to just be a professional, and hopefully change your scene prompts that, because it's kind of not now or never, but you know what I mean. It's like you're going to kick on and make this the career we all hope.
It's hard to like conjure another player like Ferguson who had such a moment like the hat-trick against Newcastle, and then the subsequent chat of, is he worth 150 million, and Bose were going to get 10%, and maybe he might even, why can't he play for England? This was the English press, like trying to, and now he's in a position where, Brighton have signed 2 or 3 strikers since then, so the whole thing of, well, maybe he bloomed a little bit too much and we'll put him back into the system and wait for him to come through. Yeah. They have gone out of their way to bring other strikers into the club. So, and they've...
And all the talk of Chelsea swooping in, like, football community talks, is there, like,
yeah,
why is the stock falling so much? I don't know.
And it is interesting that he's gone to Italy because there has been a recent spate of players from the UK going and actually doing quite well. Obviously, McTominay, the headliner, but Chris Smalling played there for a long time. Tammy Abraham had a little bit of success for a long time. People going out, players going to like those kind of leagues, really, really struggle. But for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe people are just
driving.
Yeah, it seems to be not like a massive jump for guys to go to Italy now.
Well, hopefully next year, when he turns up at Wimbledon in a 3-piece, everyone's like, Evan Ferguson, look amazing.
But you're right. Like no one would have predicted 2 years ago
that we'd be here.
That we'd be here.
No, big time. So that's official. It's done. He's in Rome. God, Barcelona and Rome. Good places to parachute back down into. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Cheers. Will, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
That was Bits and Bobs on this Monday. Hurling in your feed as well. The kind of plan for the week. Ronan always goes out to me for doing this.
In the morning. We have a big guest in the morning. Can we say who it is?
Brandel Chambly.
You told me.
Oh, you could have pretended at least.
Yeah, play the game.
Who?
Brandel Chambly.
With something else? Oh, a bit of lines tomorrow. Oh, fuck.
Well, after you
dress that up
all over it, I actually feel bad that I didn't give a little more positivity.
Can we get Harry Potter on?
We can try.
There's a few questions I need to ask.
Wednesday we have All Ireland football final preview. Thursday will be
a few bits in the fire.
Quite a few.
Yeah. So
the Euros talk. There will be
more lines. Stuart
Barnes. There will be
All Ireland Office Party Part 2 will be dropping at some stage.
Friday. Brawley, Milan, Brennan. This was the uncontrollable part.
Look at all this. Look what we're giving everyone.
This is the part that the lawyers just had to.
Yeah, we had to put a saddle on this thing and break it in. Like this is how wild this was.
And then I'm not going to say who it is on Friday, but a really nice feature interview.
Yeah,
nice one coming up. And then Thursday maybe Bits and Bobs again. So come on,
I'm on board.
Look. All right. Emails if you want. Indo Sport Podcast, independent.e, Bits and Bobs Thursday, so we can get to them. And that's that. All right. Thanks, fellas.